generation.
The kind of current generation for Nintendo, but the current generation for everybody.
Well, yeah, because we've missed one console out.
Were you?
Yes.
But that, see, again, we digress. To me, that is wholeheartedly current gen.
Yeah.
Just because Nintendo released a new system. It came out a few months before the other two, or about a year before the other two. And it kickstarted the next gen. Like, just the same as the 360 launched a year before the PS3. You can't disregard them as different gens.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's why I'd class them within the PS3. Like, they're kind of... because their generations are shorter than the other companies, or have been.
Yeah.
6 to 7 years.
They had no choice with the Wii U, though, did they?
No.
It was a ship that had already sunk, that they were just...
Oh, God, yeah. Flogging a dead horse.
They're just pumping air to keep the people alive on the sunken ship. It wasn't even sinking. But...
controller-wise, Wii U gamepad.
I tried to probably convince myself it was better than what it was when I got it, because I got it day one. And I did like the functionality of being able to, off TV mode.
Yep.
Switch beta, if you like, switch alpha almost. But the range in the house any house that I've been in, it just didn't work. I couldn't sit in the toilet and play it. I would have to leave every door open and kind of play it at an angle to make sure the signal's right. The display was pretty good for its time.
Yep.
It was an LCD display and it had a good depth of colour, a good decent resolution for what you needed.
Yep.
The buttons, the aesthetics bugged me because it felt like a kid's toy. It was too clunky,
totally get
too
that.
rounded, too
light.
shiny, too light.
Yeah.
The analogs, the buttons, considering how big it is, the buttons were in decent reachable positions.
Yes, correct.
You weren't having to reach over, and it had a good sort of grip on the back, so it fit in the hand nicely.
Yeah.
But it was clunky. Your hands were quite far apart. I used to try and play Smash Brothers on it, and I would immediately go, look, anyone want to swap? I'd rather play with a single Wiimote with a nunchuck than the actual gamepad. So I felt it put me at a disadvantage, ergonomically speaking.
For some games, yeah. So I played through Wind Waker recently with the Wii U gamepad, and I played it with a Pro. I actually preferred it with a Wii U gamepad, because for things like...
I would say totally.
It just made such a difference to my experience.
The map, and it's
got all the items in front of you.
The fact is, that's one thing about that controller that no controller really truly had, is it has a screen built in. So you have, you look at the first advert for the iPhone and the idea of getting rid of buttons because you can choose what button you want.
Yeah, exactly.
That was what that had. You can have 20 extra buttons if you wanted. They'd all be on the screen. There's a great indie game I played. I'm trying to think what it was called. It's essentially, I can't believe I forgot it now. It's like a little spaceship game. It's like a three-player game. And it's a 2D spaceship game, and someone can control the controls of the spaceship on the gamepad.
Yeah.
And you can choose to raise up the gas on one side or the electricity on the other side. And it's just like a typical touch screen where you can tweak different settings, stroke things up, stroke things down. And that added a whole new dimension into what you could do, not to mention the advertised asymmetric gameplay, where somebody is playing hide and seek in like a Mario game sort of thing, and you've got to find them. It's just really clever. Very clever.
I think it was it was a good controller, and I agree with all your points about it, but I do kind of really like it for adventure games, having all the items there. That is where it came into its own. For pretty much anything else, that's not going to be... I
think it predated what would then become the norm of minimalistic UI and HUDs in games, because it's like, well, you don't need to see any of that, that's all on the screen. And a lot of games sort of took from that as resolutions improved and as graphical fidelity improved, they minimised their HUDs and their on-screen displays as well. It's an unusual controller. It's probably
it's very quirky, which kind of makes me... I wouldn't say it's the best controller. I wouldn't say it was the worst I've ever used.
It's the monster in the room, though, in terms of like
the Duke ain't too far off the size of it.
That's surprisingly probably quite true. It's a lot heavier.
The Duke was about this big, and the Wii U gamepad's about this big. There's not a lot realistically in it, and I do have a lot of respect for it, and I understand what they're trying to do, but for multiple games, you need a classic controller.
The classic controllers on the Wii U are actually really good.
They're
in terms of
very
like
good.
Feedback, tactile feedback, and ergonomics.
But it was the triggers again.
Triggers again. They were digital triggers, very shallow depth of movement.
Actuation points.
And it was again that plastically shiny.
Yeah, I hate that.
It didn't look good on your shelf, put it that way.
No, it didn't.
But
it's proper fingerprint and scratch mark.
It's a bit too light. It had good potential, but when you compared it to like the Xbox One controller that generation,
yeah,
the Xbox One controller wins, I think, hands down.
Because you got the PS4, the Xbox One.
Well, yeah, I know you got love for the PS4 controller as well.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got a lot of love for the Xbox One controller. Ironically, I've spent a lot of time with it.
See, I never had much contact with the Xbox One controller, so for the most current gen, I'd always buy every possible console for a generation if I could.
Yeah.
But for the current gen, I was faced with a budget crisis, and I invested into PC back into getting a top tier PC.
Yeah.
No regrets, by the way. But I was using my PS3 controllers for most of the time for any game that required, like a Tomb Raider. You don't want to play Tomb Raider keyboard and mouse. I don't care what anybody says. A third-person game is best with a controller designed around a controller. Obviously, keyboard and mouse for first-person shooters.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
So Rocket League PS3 controller, and then I came in contact with Xbox One controller through the Oculus
Rift
experience.
Yeah.
And I was just immediately impressed. Immediately, like I played Final Fantasy 15 all the way through on that controller, and when the batteries died, I didn't want to pick up my PS3 controller. I'm like, I'm going to go out and buy batteries. It's just so much better for it.
It is
the analog sticks, the way that your thumb doesn't slip off. It's got
the
way that the rubbers, the contour of the rubbers in better. The buttons have a brilliant response.
Yeah,
it fits in the hand really nice. I think the ergonomics aren't perfect. I actually think even the Dreamcast got the ergonomics a little bit better than that. It's still a little bit too rounded for me.
Yes, I know what you mean. It is a bit too rounded. And I think I have a lot of love. I think the thumbsticks on the free Xbox One controller are probably my favourite thumbsticks out of all this generation. The kicker sticks at the bottom, the feel they have on them, they've got the weight.
The spring response is really great.
It's absolutely crazy. Do you want to know? I will let you guys into this. So I've taken quite a lot of controllers apart because if I buy them second hand, I want to clean them up and get all the grease and dirt out of it.
It's quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's also a lot of fun, and I want to know how they work. So the Xbox One ones, for those who have never taken one apart, they have weights in the trigger buttons. That's what makes them so nice.
They advertise that as I suppose, it's that force feedback.
Yeah,
I think that's what the terminology they use. So when you're playing a racing game, it vibrates a little bit more as you put it in, and it's got a little bit more tension.
It has got a rumble in there as well, so it's got weight as well, and it's also got guide rails. So when it slides, as you're pushing it back, it slides back and forward, so it's not free. So all the other controllers in the past would just literally have a spring, or they'd have some sort of...
The shape helps. It was more like that shape, wasn't it? So your finger doesn't... Again, I go back to the PS2 controller. It doesn't slip off as easy and stuff.
It's absolutely lovely. My drawbacks to the Xbox One controller, L and R buttons. I just don't like the way they click.
They're not as nice as the left bumper, right bumper from the previous gen. Also, one thing we'll give them credit to is they did improve the D-pad significantly over previous types of consoles. But my biggest drawback goes back to batteries. How does it not have a lithium ion built in that day and age? Like, to be putting AA batteries. I've been putting AA batteries into toys that I had when I was in the 80s. Come on. Like, I don't have to buy rechargeable AA batteries and pop them out and charge them up again. Give me an inbuilt, I bet that's Microsoft trying to make a bit more money.
Yeah, true. But then
the prices of the controllers in the current gen, I think, rocketed though compared to previous gens.
They did. Well, only the Xbox did. Realistically, I suppose they did go up about 10-15 quid.
Hey, let's consider what you could probably arguably call the best controller generation, if you don't regard price, would be the Xbox
Elite version,
Elite controller,
which I've never used. So I've
had hands on it. It's quite heavy. It's quite meaty. It's customizable.
Yeah, which I really
cool
like
for someone like us who like to tweak our gadgets and whatnot. But you could never justify the cost of a controller.
That's why I never bought it.
Small gains of if you get any gains at all, it's a bit of a...
They've got the kickers underneath for...
It's an elitist mentality, isn't it?
It's definitely.
Name, right? But your DualShock 4, coming from the DualShock 3, you love the DualShock 3 and 2. Right?
Oh yeah, and 1 as well.
DualShock 4.
What do I think?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. It's a great improvement. Very subtle improvements. The width of it is perfect. For holding, the width is perfect. The first version I found it was okay. The batteries were really short, which is one of its shortfalls. The buttons were nice. They were bigger. The start and select was a bit weird because it didn't have a... It's just got... oh my god, my brain's gone.
Option and...
Yeah, option and menu.
Start and select. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's all
option
we
and
want.
menu. You just complicated it.
Yeah.
It's start and select forever.
But that great little pad, which a lot of people didn't like, and the speaker in it, do you know what? For some games, no, but it was great for like... I told you I played a lot of Assassin's Creed. That was a map button, and I loved it.
I'll be honest, that's probably now, because of using the Xbox One controller on PC, my least contact controller of this generation, because I don't own, at the moment, either the two consoles.
Fair enough.
So when I do play it is when we're playing multiplayer games with yourself or anybody else. When I pick up the controller... actually, it isn't fair to the controller, but the first time I come in contact with the controller was in Argos. And they were smashed to bits, aren't they? Like,
you can't trust them, man.
And that big button in the middle just doesn't feel like a button.
You're talking about PlayStation sign, right?
Yeah. No.
The pad.
Yeah, the pad.
The touchpad.
Because it's got like a click to it if you push it in, right?
Yeah, because it will access dual buttons depending on what game you're playing.
I don't think they make good buttons at all. As a button, I don't think it's good. I think it's a good idea maybe as a soft touch.
It was used for other things again.
It's got a...
It's a touchpad as well.
Yeah. It's got the... I'm forgetting the terminology now, the correct terminology for conductive touch, multi-touch as a term for it. But anyway, that was a good idea. People weren't fans of the light bar.
No, they weren't. And the reason is because it came battery. So when they did the second iteration, which is the iteration I now own, which I'm so glad, when they brought it out in 2016, I chopped mine in and got the newer version controllers, and the battery life has improved, and they've just done little tweaks to it to make it a little bit nicer. Not massively aesthetic, but they changed. The biggest issues were the thumb grips.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen so many controllers that have like a third-party thumb grips topped on, which wasn't a thing before.
So what I did to my original ones, I took off the plastic rubber ones because I went through about 4 controls wearing out the rubber, and then I decided to put metal thumbsticks on them. So when I put the metal thumbsticks on them, what happened was no more slipping. Great for first-person shooters because I still played a lot of COD on that as well. And I kind of liked the rigidness because I knew that the centre point would wear down eventually because that's what happens on all PlayStation controls. Yeah. It's just the nature of the beast.
Well, I mean, the light bar I heard was the problem with playing not literally playing a light scenarios. If you want to get eye strain, sure, but we will do. But the idea is you're getting a bit of glare on the TVs because you're getting a light bar.
But you could dim it. The first time they did it
quite
early on, you could dim it. So I dimmed mine to give it the most battery power. I never played in the dark, but when you're playing multiplayer, you've got different colours, so you know what controller is yours. So if we have like a tea break or we decide, we're going to pause that game and do whatever for 5 minutes, go on our phones, usual stuff now, you could tell which controller was yours. Back in the day, you'd have all the same controllers and you wouldn't figure it out.
I think the PS3 got it quite right though, with the button, the little LED light on the top. Got a bit confusing when you played 7-player on 8-player on Pro, but it was still quite clear. It just wasn't as visible, I suppose.
Yes.
See, for me, objectively speaking, looking at that controller, when I see it on the side and I look at the DualShock 4, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's a history of using PlayStation controllers, but I don't connotate it to PlayStation as quick as I would do the previous controls. It looks a little bit more like a third-party controller in terms of it's not iconic, it's not attractive, it's not a good controller to look at, in my opinion. The texture on the touchpad, the default controller, the way that the matte plastic isn't consistent all the way around, the light bar on the back, it looks like a sci-fi gadget rather than just a nice minimalistic design.
I know what you mean.
And from that perspective, I don't think it's a very attractive controller, but hey, what's aesthetics compared to ergonomics and tactile feedback? So, that said, I enjoy it when I'm playing games like Pro. It feels comfortable.
Yes.
I just think it slightly misses out to the Xbox One controller. It's a big step up that they needed from DualShock 3 because it went from PS2 to PS4 for a change, a
Yeah.
big enough change.
I think again they will do it on whatever next console. I think, for me, the size of the when we play with football games and even first person shooters, see, I have a love for both the controllers and they both have pros and cons. But it's not that I'm a massive Sony fanboy, because
you're not a fanboy full stop. That's
no, I'm not.
Thing.
Yeah, I play all consoles, and for example, I'm playing the Wii U at the moment. I'm loving the gamepad just because I want to play something different.
Yeah, it's an objective opinion.
But when I play my PC, I've got my Xbox One controller, and I play like Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed's been really good on it. I had to go try and steer the ship with a keyboard and mouse. Didn't quite work out that well, so I was like, I better go back to controller. Black Flag, man, all over that.
But I don't know. I mean, what I find interesting is with this current gen, we saw a resurgence in the previous generation of console controllers. The Wii controllers worked on the Wii U, right? The Wiimotes and every Wiimote adapter, if you like, worked on the Wii U, and they transferred the Virtual Console.
I discovered that the Motion Plus control, the PlayStation Move controllers worked on the PS4 months before it came out, and what I did was I thought, well, it's going to come out VR. They were really cheap, so I bought like 4 of them.
That's what I wanted to do. It was a quite a clever idea. I mean,
I did a good trade-in for that.
One thing I say about the Move controllers, though, they're really just not good to look at. Again, you're looking at... you don't need to, because in theory...
Yeah.
Nowadays, in theory, you in VR yourself doesn't
it look like it's a remote control with a light bulb on top? It always reminded me of that.
Yeah. It was like it's just really unusual. What was also unusual was the PS4 controllers would then work back on the PS3.
Yeah, which I think is random.
But the reality is, on paper, the principle is the previous gen controllers should have all worked on the next gen consoles.
Oh, yeah,
because it's just a firmware update and a Bluetooth setting that should accommodate them. But money has to be made, right? Some of them do have incompatibility because of the touchpad bar and stuff.
Yeah, of course. The 360 could have easily worked.
Yeah, but then that leads me to the most recent console, which is a Switch.
Yep.
I love my Switch. Obviously, it's a channel switched on, right? Yeah. It's an amazing console. But my first ever gripe with that console before it even come out was there was no support for the previous controllers that Nintendo made. Again, I get it. There's money to be made. Yeah. But you look at the Pro Controller, before we get into the quality of that controller, you look at the Pro Controller and the amount of buttons it has and what it has to do.
Yeah.
The Wii U Pro Controller did that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So you already have I mean, I think they're all clickable buttons on the Wii U as well. So, hey, just bring a firmware update. Very early on, the question was raised to Kimishima regarding that. Or was it Kimishima? It might have actually been being another executive. And the question was raised, would there be backwards support for the controllers? And they said they had no plans to do that at that time.
Yes. Well, at least they were honest.
Right? Yeah.
They didn't say, no, we can't do it. They just, we ain't got any plans.
And then you look at the... I actually, from a business perspective, totally understand the push for Joy-Con left, Joy-Con right. Right? Yeah. With the HD rumble and the whole idea of snapping it on, snapping it off. But I would like to see, when the Switch is an established console, to be able to use Wiimotes. Like for games that require minimum control. Where it's just like motion control, or it's just a D-pad and 2 buttons. Because you turn a Joy-Con to the side and you're playing Mario Kart, okay,
it's too small.
You got the analog stick, but you know what I mean, you essentially you get the same sort of button count to an extent as what you'd get on a... But it's just support, just some sort of acceptance. Maybe a Wiimote plus a classic controller would be a way to add more controls to the game.
Yeah, just to give it kind of a different feel. Because they were great for classic games, those classic controllers. Absolutely must have for them.
Yeah, because it's kind of in their name, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hence why they called that.
Yeah, I think the Switch controller is a bit of an unusual bracket as well, because again...
Technically they've got 2, haven't they?
Well, technically it's like got 3. It's another gamepad, right?
Oh, yeah,
You've got a touchscreen device. This difference is they're not utilising the touchscreen hardly at all at the moment, because they don't want to associate it with the Wii U. They want to make it about transferability between gameplay when you dock it and when you play undocked. But I will say this now, I think the Joy-Cons are great. Forget about the hardware failures of them in terms of connectivity.
Yeah.
But I mean...
I haven't had the connectivity issue, so I've been kind of lucky.
I've had it pretty bad. But I like. It's going to sound really, I suppose, OCD in particular. I like the plastic feel of the Joy-Cons.
No, they have got a great feel.
The plastic they use
the
to
rubberise
make,
them, yeah.
It's like a matte plastic finish that's got the dull colour design. They feel really solid anyway because they've got the HD rumble inside.
Don't you think it feels a bit more like the Wii U thumbstick feel on the controller shell? That's what it really reminds me of.
Yeah, like the harder rubber.
Which is really weird, but they are very nice to feel.
You can feel that they have packed a lot of technology inside these things, and they are solid. Right?
Yeah.
You can feel that.
They're not...
the buttons are really small. They're understandable, right? They're like 3DS size. And yes, there are. I will say this now: the ergonomics aren't great for them. That's why they're not nowhere near the best controller. But again, tactile feedback.
I would debate that in handheld mode.
Oh yeah, but that's what it. I mean, that's the whole point. It becomes a handheld console, right? But when you're maybe
with the little connector,
when you're playing it up there, it's still playable. A lot of the haters wanted to jump on, going, "No, look at control." The reality is, you're busting that co-op at work on Mario Kart because you've got two controllers built into the system.
You don't even have.
It is playable unless you want to be pro competitive and you want to get.
Yeah, you just want to have a laugh.
Yeah, it's totally playable. Obviously, shoulder buttons are almost unusable until you slide on the strap, but with the strap on, they're pretty usable. Yeah. Way too spongy, way too flimsy, but
a bit too small.
Usable, and that's why you have to measure the controllers differently against other controllers because they have a different functionality to them.
Yeah, well, they're a dual controller, aren't they? They're technically when you use them apart. I mean, I've used it a little bit apart, not massive amount. I kind of honestly prefer the Pro controller.
I just like the idea of slouching, but
you love that.
But
me, I have to sit up straight and concentrate
when it's in the Switch. I actually prefer the weightless Switch. I think it feels very solid. But again, I didn't start off with the Pro controller when I got the Switch, and then I started playing some Mario Kart online in a group, and with my reputation in Mario Kart, I thought I had to at least step up and be top dog. But
he didn't. He ended up last place.
It didn't start very well for me, but I've never been really one to blame controllers for much unless they're greasy. That's a separate thing, but growing up and getting greasy fingers on controllers drove me mad because I'd slip. So I never liked to blame the controllers for how I played. But when I then tried a Pro controller in Mario Kart, it is the first time I think where I'm playing the same game with two different official controllers that have the same button mapping. So I'm not talking about like Mario Kart on the Wii where you can change from motion controls, and it felt distinctly different, and I felt like I had a better advantage playing with a Pro controller. And being the most recent controller of all current consoles, I think it is a collection of all the good things Nintendo's done in the past into one tiny package. It has its shortcomings. That's why I don't put it up there as my favourite controller.
No.
Had they got the D-pad right, it could have been one of the most perfect controllers, but the D-pad is a kind of a known issue with the accuracy in moving between certain directions, especially when you're moving towards the right. I've got that kind of problem in mine.
I haven't actually really tested it with that, but I haven't used it in the same way. So I'll probably have to see. You're right about the ergonomics and the weight of that controller. You can sit it between your fingers like this and it sits there. It's probably the most accurate on weight. The rumble's perfect, especially.
Rumble's amazing. It's got HD rumble built in as well, which people don't realise.
And motion as well. Not that I'm going to use motion that much.
But it helps in games like, Zelda, if you're that type of game.
And you want to aim with it.
You can just move it a bit, or Splatoon, right?
See, I didn't really like it for Splatoon.
I didn't, personally, but for a lot of people it did, and it gives you that slight edge if you want it. That slight push towards mouse fidelity if you're that type of person, if you're not a traditional pro.
I have grown accustomed to it from playing a lot of the Wii U stuff and the 3DS stuff more recently, because like on 3DS you use it in Ocarina of Time for aiming, and it is really
fixes
good.
A lot of the shortcomings of that game. It's a 10 out of 10 game, but it improves
the Wii U for
using
Wind Waker as well, and motion it up.
Yeah.
I really liked that, and now I've got more used to it. I think if I went back and played Splatoon now with that, I would get it a lot quicker.
There's the biggest issue I find with the Pro controller, it comes back to the shoulder buttons again. Nintendo doesn't always get them right. It's the digital. So by not having an analog controller, let's say you want to play a racing game, a sim, and you want to accelerate slowly through. You can't do it really.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the depth and range of motion. It's digital. It's not an analog button. Is that necessarily that important for the games that may be coming to the Switch? Probably not.
No.
But one thing you'll find is, which I don't understand how Microsoft got this so wrong, on a Windows platform, the DualShock 4 works out of the box, right?
Well, it does now.
Yeah. And it did from the beginning, I think. Just had to do a few driver installations. The Xbox One didn't. The Xbox One controller didn't work out of the box.
No, because you have to have
but even then, I think there was an issue with drivers early on.
Yeah, so they did. Compatible. Because the second, it was ironically was the second version of the Xbox One controller that allows you to Bluetooth link straight to computer, and you don't need that dongle.
The Switch controller, being new Nintendo, works natively with Windows.
Okay.
As a controller.
We
install its own drivers and do all the own thing it needs to do. But then you find that the analog stick, well, I haven't tested it recently, but the analog stick when it first launched had no range of motion. It was 0 to 100. There was just no flow. If you wanted to creep to the right, you couldn't. It was either centre point or right.
Okay, fair enough.
Essentially like a virtual D-pad in some respects, but just with full rotation. And then obviously the shoulder buttons didn't have any power points, if you like, when you push through, and that was annoying. But you can install custom drivers to, like you would do with the DualShock 3s and stuff, to emulate a Windows-based controller or Microsoft-based controller. But it's just interesting to see how controllers become more transferable across platforms, especially with like third-party tools like USB adapters.
That was kind of where coming into your favourite controller could come into. So my last point I want to make about the Pro controller, which I found the Switch Pro controller is the face buttons. I'm the opposite to you on this one, but I think they're about a mil too big, maybe 1.5 mils if they shaved that down.
In diameter or
height?
Yeah, okay.
The size wise, perfect, really nice, big.
Extrude too high up out the chassis, the enclosure.
For me, years ago I smashed my thumb out of its socket and it's never been the same. So I can't.
Yeah, I've got problems with my thumb's damages from martial arts injuries and stuff. Yeah, I get where you're coming from that, but for me, the way that I play my games now, with the buttons on the right hand side, I had no problems with because we spent over 100 hours in Mario Kart, like playing a lot of that.
And that's what made my hands ache the most. But I just wished that was a shortcoming of them not allowing me to change the buttons. But that's a different.
I would have actually maybe put the buttons slightly closer together, but I'm being very like OTT when I'm mentioning faults with the control in that respect. The analog stick is brilliant on the Pro controller. It is so nice. It feels so good. It has the right tension moving through. I think it's on par at least with the Xbox One controller, and obviously the clickable buttons, which is great, which finally says.
I didn't have a problem with the digital kickers. I quite liked them.
But if you was a type of game that likes to play racing games, or if you wanted to have a game or played a game that had some sort of scalability in terms of pressure, you would be short of two.
True.
Good buttons.
But that's why I think they added the motion to kind of, because with the way the motion works, the way that they're using it for like aiming and stuff, and that will get better over time as well.
Yeah. I if anything, one thing I find myself doing a lot with the Pro controller on the Switch is because the buttons aren't, it's just a noob mistake if you like. Sometimes push the home button instead of start.
Yeah, I do that
because you push the home button a lot for pause in a game.
Yeah.
And because they're not distinctly different.
Yeah.
Very similar. There's no, spatial awareness cue in your corner of your eye that says that's a big green X. To
don't do that.
Button, yeah. And I mean the feature that excels above every other controller for the Pro controller is battery life.
Oh my god.
That controller is amazing. 40
hours.
More. You get more.
Do you remember when we were playing Zelda? So when we first got it, we both pretty much got a Pro controller.
Yeah. Eventually did. I didn't get one very early on, but yeah.
Yeah, I got the Pro controller pretty much straight away, and within the first month, I only charged it 3 times I put 109, probably about 160 hours into Zelda Breath of the Wild in the first month I played it, and I charged it 3 times. I was like, what? In every other controller, the battery life on the PS4 controllers are naff. There's no two ways about it. The PS3 were better than the PS4
Yeah,
for battery
PS3
life.
controller batteries were pretty damn impressive, actually.
It was very good.
Yeah.
But then when you compare it to the Switch, you're like, how the hell can I get 40 hours and you can't get 4 or 5 out of PS4?
Also, I think the Switch controllers, it feels like a much more durable controller than many controllers have come before. Partly probably because of the wait for the HD Rumble, but it feels quite a solid controller. It is up there with Xbox
the way it's
One.
designed is it's got a shell and those 2 edge grips, which are removable if you want to take them apart like I do, just to see what it was like inside, and obviously rebuild it. Don't muller it. I'll never say stop taking it completely
Kids don't
apart.
try this at home.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas
Nintendo never warranty status.
Yeah, exactly. So I took mine out. I think mine. The reason I did it was because I got some dirt underneath it. And I just wanted to clean it out, and it bugged me. So
it's just curiosity as well.
Yeah, it was a bit of curiosity, and I love the way that it's designed, and it's a very rugged, strong controller. Because I have actually dropped it a few times, and I was like, I hope I haven't broken it. Pardon?
Rage drop.
Actually, no. What I was coming to see you, and I dropped it down the stairs.
Yeah. Well, you are quite clumsy. Hence, probably why you have so many controls you fix fast.
Well, you have to learn after you break a few rages, a few accidental drops. There you go.
It's a solid controller. If it was a top 5 controllers of all time, it would be in the top 5. That's how much I love the Pro Controller. In fact, its biggest shortcoming is while it was refreshing to finally see a sort of transparent plastic, to go back to old school and kind of see the chipboard inside, it doesn't really do much. Like the murky transparency doesn't do much for me.
I like the fact it's matte though. It's finally matte.
I just want to see more. The early variations of the controller now aren't nowhere near as attractive as they could be.
Yes.
But when you think back to the 90s and you'd have bold colours for your computers or bold colours for your consoles, bold colours for your controller,
yeah.
that was great. I love that. I'm going to buy myself an orange controller if I wanted to. I can get myself an orange controller for my orange console, or I can get my yellow controller for my yellow console if that's what you wanted to do and that's how you wanted to rock it. And in that respect, that's the one thing that's missing from Nintendo's side of things currently.
Yeah,
because the other consoles have a little bit longer. I know there's some Gears of War designs and Halo designs on the Xbox.
Well, they've got customisable ones, Xbox Ones, and PlayStation's had quite a few different variations of controller. I've got
I like the classic.
Well, so best colours. Best colour for me was the 40th anniversary PS4 controller because I loved the look of it.
I suppose so. It just again goes back to nostalgia, but I think it rounds it up to kind of our final point, and that is, if you could use any controller on any system, what would it be? So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you have every console possible, but then you're stuck with one controller.
Yeah.
And it could work on any system. So you have to pick one controller to play on any system. What would then be your controller of choice?
Oh, God. That's a bit of a curveball. Okay.
Pros and cons. We've listed quite a lot for all the different controllers. Bad D-pads, bad battery life, removable batteries.
I would probably, for what I love and for most of the games I play.
Let me guess.
Go for it.
You're going to say DualShock 4.
I was going to say that, but the battery life, I suppose I'd have to for comfort, because for the long time play and the comfort that controller.
You was going to say DualShock 3.
I was going to say DualShock 3 for the battery life. It'd be one of those two controls.
But at least you can charge it up while you're playing.
Oh,
unlike a certain other controller, if you don't have the correct. I mean, I'm
you really hate the...
I hate batteries. It's 20 goddamn 18. Anyway,
what would be yours?
So like,
I'll say DualShock 4. You're
probably right. I'm coming in like sort of stock controller, right? You know, there's no modification, so you know, it is what it is. Because of it can't be any old controller. It needs to have clickable, because if it's going to work on every single system, it's going to need every possible function. And that's kind of why the DualShock 4 is pretty high up there, because you've got the extra button, if you like,
in the middle that does useful things. And does irritating things.
Oh, see, like, there's pros in the Wii U gamepad, and I would never ever normally say that, but you got to consider it's playing on every platform. You got the option to add infinite amount of buttons on a touchscreen. Right?
Oh yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So it's got pros there. It's just plastic. The plastic. And I love the GameCube controller so much, but it doesn't have clickable analog sticks. It doesn't have enough buttons. I've been playing with my PlayStation form factor of DualShock 1, 2 and 3 forever on classic games, the SNES and any emulation.
Which I totally understand, yeah.
And it's totally viable for modern day gaming to an extent.
Yeah.
But it actually might be the Switch Pro controller because it has all the buttons, because it has amazing battery life, because the analog stick placement I think is in the right place, and because it has the best rumble.
Definitely has the best rumble, has the best battery life, but for me the home button kills it for me because it's just the placement of it where I keep pressing the wrong button.
Maybe not, mate. I mean,
that's the only one.
I've been a bit in love with the Xbox One controller since I've been using it.
I told you it was a good controller. It's a really good controller.
It might actually be, maybe it'd be the Xbox One controller. And
yeah, but you can get a battery pack for that. So
I love the 360 controllers as well, but I think it might be the second version of the Xbox One controller. The D-pad, D-pad's pretty good. Yeah, you know what? It probably will be that controller, but again, I'm changing my mind. But the batteries. Oh, the batteries. But what if you've got one controller and then your batteries die?
You get a battery pack.
Yeah, but I'm talking in stock form, right?
Yeah,
There's no expansions. You got one controller. You can't buy any other controllers. You can't buy a battery pack. You can buy batteries. But your batteries die. You're going to have to change batteries to carry on going.
Yeah.
You can't charge while you're playing.
Go to the pound shop, 10 Sony batteries for £1, and I'll just burn through them.
You want, you don't want any.
No, you're being pedantic now.
Yeah. No, okay. It's
you are allowed a battery pack to level the playing field.
If you could have a battery pack, then the Xbox One controller. Without a battery pack, the Switch Pro controller.
Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, you just physically can't pick an older controller because they don't have enough functionality.
There is one thing I wanted to kind of throw into this conversation that I thought was quite funny. I would love to see Call of Duty tournament playing on an N64 controller
with a C stick. That's why they had auto aim.
Of course they had auto aim. It would never work otherwise. But remember when it had auto aim and your first time you played that and you're shafting from left to right. Bear in mind, it was such a revolution. You couldn't. It just wouldn't work as well. Never worked as well on the PS1.
Well, that was partly also the change from the twin stick controls.
Yeah.
Twin stick controls. I think that's the correct term. My brain's a bit foggy now. We're getting quite deep into the video, but twin stick controls is the term used for, or dual stick controls rather. That's the correct term. Was the correct term that was applied to games at Time Splitters and Call of Duty, where you had the ability to move forward and backwards on the left, and strafe left and right on the same stick, and then look up and down and look left and right on the right stick. Whereas before that, it was you walk forward and turn left and turn right on the one side, and you
terrible.
But it wasn't because that was what you knew at the time.
Yeah, I know.
And it wasn't a second stick, so it made sense.
But when we go back and play it now, we're like, oh my god.
Yeah, but that's big part of that is because you've been conditioned to play in a different way. You see.
Yeah.
So there was a period in time, I think about 10 years ago, I got back into GoldenEye and I'd done 007 mode and everything, right?
Oh wow, that was tough. I found it really difficult.
I didn't. I want to do a video on this at some point about. I think there's a certain cut-off point eventually where you lose the skill set you had for older games. Because about 10 years ago, I can go back and play any older game and I was smashing. Mario Kart, I'd smash it on the SNES. GoldenEye, I was still pretty amazing at that game. And as I've got more and more deeper into modern gaming, I would all of a sudden, just like a forgotten skill, I'm like, I can't pick up this game anymore.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at this game.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that will happen with that cut-off point I told you with the 360. I went back to Halo 3 and I picked up like it never left.
That's because you're using the Xbox One controller, and I think that
the 360 controller. But I think it's also the controls and the design of the cameras and the
and the layout
tracking
and
stuff.
Yeah. It is very similar.
But there were a few honourable mentions we didn't get around to. You know, you had the Atari Jaguar back in the day.
Don't you remember all the buttons? It looked like a phone dial pad.
Oh, what a terrible controller!
I never
Virtual
got to
Boy.
That controller was actually quite comfortable to pick up. But
that's a few key ingredients to making a good controller.
Oh no. Just feel-wise was nice to use it. Oh my god, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we played it at Hyper Japan?
I wasn't a fan of the Saturn controller.
I've got the Saturn controller, and it's got the same issue with the bloody D-pad as all the other Mega Drive. I can totally understand that.
I know it was reiterated upon and improved, but we mentioned Dreamcast controller. It was a pretty decent controller. Yeah, there were obviously less successful consoles that had come out, or less successful platforms.
Definitely.
Like Neo Geo and stuff. I just think that it's hard to measure those systems because they weren't successful, and they weren't successful for a reason. You know, things die out. The one controller interface, which I won't call a controller, that has just been consistent is the keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
But I would never class that as a controller because it isn't.
It's
a control interface,
yeah,
but so is a touchscreen on a phone. And that's why I wouldn't include it in this conversation. But
it's a hard thing to do because you couldn't imagine professional CS:GO players just whipping out an N64 controller and saying, no, we'll play it like this, or a PS4 controller, because you're just going to get destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't as universal as other controllers, but then in some respects it kind of is because you have tons more combinations of configurations.
Yeah, you do. You can have macro keys depending what keyboard you've got as well.
Depends on the setting. And obviously the response of a mouse is a phenomenal thing.
You can make it faster, you can make it slower.
But it comes back to that elitist sort of behaviour because you can damn well have good fun on a first person shooter without a mouse. You can. It's tough for me because I've moved away from traditional console gaming in that respect. And
in a way,
so good at first-person shooters. I'd been, right in the heart of the growth of it and really invested through the development. And now I've been playing predominantly on PC and keyboard, and I've had to readjust again to go back to that format. And I've got pretty good at that as well. But now I'm only good with both. Like when I switch between one and the other. Like if I was to jump in a tournament for Halo 5, if I wanted to, I'd probably be a step behind with a controller. Yeah, if I was to jump in a tournament for something like Destiny on the PC, I'd must certainly be quite behind as well on that.
So I do find here's something I will give anybody a tip that I discovered predominantly getting more into PC gaming in the last 2 to 3 years. I play a bit of CS:GO. I'm not great at it, but it does hone your skills for when you want to start playing Call of Duty, so it makes you so sharp. Yeah, so I use it for that. I purposely play that game, and then I go straight onto the console, and the people don't know what's hit them because my mind is working at a faster rate because you're just going, bang, they're over there.
There's also a different type of...
CS:GO is a different...
What we don't realise is, from first-person shooter perspective, you've got run and guns.
Yeah.
You've got more tactical, more skillful sets. Call of Duty's always been a run and gun.
Yeah, which is...
a cover button, which is fine. But that is what it was, swinging back to controllers, I think it's great when a system can play with 4 controllers, like the GameCube. I think and the N64. It's crazy that.
Well,
Xbox
One 8.
Well, PS3 7 actually. It was really weird. You could only sync 7 controllers, I think, to PS3.
That was true because one would. Did you ever use the DVD pad as a controller for a laugh?
No.
I did do it just to see what the I can't remember what I played, but I just did it for an experience because it's got all the button layout, and I just thought I'll have a go. I'm trying to remember what I played. I can't remember. I just did it for a laugh, and then went, oh no, it's about awful, and then exited out of the game.
One thing I've noticed since I've got back into PC gaming is my evolution of the way that I play with a controller. So traditionally, I play with a controller growing up as you'd expect. Your thumbs resting on the buttons, switching between the analogs and the buttons that you need to use, and resting on the fingers. The shoulder buttons fingers resting on the shoulder buttons. But as I got more used to PC gaming and the freedom of a camera control that comes with it, I found that I would always need to be on that right analog stick. Always. on a controller.
Yeah, you do
so
find
I changed the way that I played, and I used to think it was weird watching people play this way when I was younger, but I now use my finger as a hook,
claw.
if you like, a claw, to play with the buttons, and then keep my analog stick going. And it does help so much in online in shooting games.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you do have that constant need to aim and adapt. And then I use my middle finger now as a shoulder button. It's just a weird evolution of usage.
Because I find when I'm playing those sort of games, you are right, you're going between these, especially when I'm playing first person shooters. You have to keep one as a trigger. I usually keep that as a grenade, and try and do that as reload, and that as shoot, and that as aim. So like I've got all the controls in my fingertips because I don't really like going to those buttons. I find it a bit annoying. I prefer to kind of use it that way. And once you get that button layout, it's just so much more comfortable. And I think it comes from learning about the PC when you've got all the buttons here.
Yeah.
Like my mouse has got most of the buttons I ever need.
Yeah, exactly.
On purpose.
And that's, again, I go back to not being a controller, but when you have extra buttons on your mouse, and you can switch between guns on your mouse, and you can...
Yeah. Because you can use a wheel, or you can use extra buttons.
You can change what side you want your buttons on. It's
which side you want to reload and shoot. You just get kind of so used to it. You're just like this.
The biggest shortcoming, though, is comfort. I do sometimes miss playing a first person. I almost tell myself I can't do it on PC, play with a controller on first person shooter, and that's why I don't.
Yeah.
But I miss just couching back on the sofa.
It is kind of very comfortable
and relaxing. But then when I play games like Tomb Raider, I can do that because again I'm not using that for a third person game. It's just not as ideal.
You need to play that with a controller. There are certain things you need to play with a controller, and there's no way you can get away from it. And if you do try and use a keyboard and mouse, it's not going to be as comfortable.
We should wrap this up because we're
definitely.
going to be speaking for nearly 2 hours. We'll split this video into two. But yeah, we'll probably do a video soon just to sort of show the customizations you can do with controllers because you've got quite a few. A couple of teardowns, which is always fun. I know there's loads of videos out there, but it'd be fun to do a couple of teardowns.
Yeah, and I'll show you some different. We'll show you between us what kind of controllers we've got and what our favourites are.
Yeah, and all the abolishments. What's the correct word? Abominations
of controller.
Third-party controllers.
I've got a few. I haven't got a lot anymore because I just.
The younger brother of Player 2 controller.
Oh, yeah.
And he's younger. But thanks for watching. This has been Switched On. Stay tuned.
Stay switched on.